Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to User One Productions. My name is David, and in today's full-length tutorial video, we are going to be going over how to make a basic horror game inside of Unity. This is going to include map creation, all the scripts, texturing, everything from start to finish, from clicking that build button at the very end to publishing it on itch.io or anywhere else you want it to be. I'm not going to make any cuts in this video. It's just going to be a full walkthrough on how to do this. So if you guys do enjoy today's tutorial, please drop me a like, subscribe, share with your friends, do all that fancy stuff, and let's just dive right into it. As always, in the description you can find all of my assets, scripts, models, sound effects, everything you need for this tutorial, and other tutorials on the channel you can find in there. So if we do that really quick, we go to my Google Drive, you will see basic horror game assets. Let me show you around in here. So inside we have effects, which is for the fire effect I'm going to be using, and muzzle flash for the gun, because in the game we're going to be adding a gun. We have all the miscellaneous textures that I'm not going to be using every single one of these, but I figured let me compile a good little library for myself and for you guys to download. Inside the models folder we have arms, which are just basic arms for the player. We have a chainsaw asset because I'm going to be using that for my enemy. We have a Glock for the gun we're going to be using. We also have a lantern that I modeled just so we have a light source, and a zombie with its according animations that I got from Mixamo, just because this is going to be a very basic how to get everything set up tutorial. We have a few scripts, and then I actually have a readme file in here, so if you guys want to read that yourself, it kind of explains what each script is going to do. If you do want to skip this tutorial, there is a readme file here. Down here to sounds, we have some sound effects, which I don't know exactly what they're doing right now. That is odd. Okay, don't know what that was about. Just some stuff for the chainsaw. We have a few background musics that we can choose from, a pistol shot, and then I have a few walking sound effects. They're just tiles for right now. Later on, I might actually update this folder to make your guys' library a little bit more in variation of what you can do. We have UI, which is the Satan text, which I'm going to be using for this tutorial, and then a hand UI for grabbing objects and such. So first of all, what I'm going to do, place that over there, and I'm going to open up Blender. I'm using a very old version of Blender. This is, I believe, 2.79, so right before they got into the new UI and the new shortcuts and stuff for Blender, just because this is the one I've always used, this is the one I've learned on, so that is why I'm using this one. With that, all the shortcuts should be pretty similar on how to get started. We're just going to be making a very basic map right now, and then texturing it, importing into Unity, and then actually building the game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press X and enter to delete the starting cube. I will create a plane, scale it up, probably the size of the grid, and then what I'm actually going to do, we should have kept that cube. Let's add a cube, and I'm going to scale it down to, say, maybe 0.5, not too big. Let's do 0.25, okay? The reason I'm doing this is because I want to figure out how big our player is meant to be so we can build the scene around what the player is supposed to be. So let's say the player's height, let's do it up to, let's do something like this. Okay, so that is the player's height. And then the camera inside of Unity is probably going to be up here. So what I'll do is E to extrude, S to scale down, E again to extrude, and then just kind of make a very basic shape for the head. So right here is the player's height, and right here, this weird little topper I've made is where the camera will sit. So when we're inside of Unity, this will be the player's view, kind of like that. All right. I'm going to rename that cube to player test so I know to delete that before exporting into Unity. And now with that, I'm actually going to scale up using S the plane some more. Okay, so pretty much I'm going to be making a maze type thing, so that way the player has to roam around, find the way out, and all that other good stuff. So let's go tab on the plane to go into edit mode. I'm going to press W and subdivide it. Down here, I'm going to subdivide it a few more times. I can only do 10, which is not going to do for now. So put that to 10 and then subdivide again and again. What I'm trying to do is make sure the walls are not going to be too thick. So if I actually grab my player, place him over here, that is how thick the walls are right now in the game, which is pretty thick-ish. For a basic horror game, I might keep it because I don't want to make it too much, or else it's going to start lagging the program, and then it's just going to make the game overall glitchy. The real way you should be doing this is making your plane, which you guys can do this. You go into tab and you do Control R to make your individual cuts, and then that's how you would build your wall like that. But since this is a very basic tutorial, we're going to be doing a grid pattern kind of like this, and then just drawing where we want our walls to be. So I think I'm actually going to make this bigger, because it doesn't matter how big the map is, really. Just because we can draw out our walls here, and then this is no longer a play zone, so we'll just delete that out later. So make it as big as you really want. I'm going to subdivide it one more time, so that way my walls are about the same size as the player. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 7 and 5 to get the top view, orthographic view. And let's say the starting room for our player is going to be up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press C to get this little drawer. You draw with your left click and you hold shift to delete it. Delete the selection, that is. So what I'll do is I'm going to just draw, scroll wheel to bring up or down, by the way. I'm gonna bring it down to the smallest size, and I'm just gonna start drawing the rooms. So let's say, I don't want it there. This is going to be the starting room for the player right there, okay? What I'll actually do is I'll bring the player object over here and just make sure that it's not going to be too big or too small to roam around, which this is a pretty good starting size for, you know, whatever room we want to start in. And then let's say there is a hallway right here. Okay, still drawing it, pressing C to get into that draw mode, and then right clicking to get out of it. You can see I cannot move my camera right now. I right click, get out of it, hold shift, and use the scroll wheel, press down to actually pan around the scene. So there's one hallway, and let's press C to draw, and let's say that hallway brings you into this type of room that's a little funky, has some shape to it. Maybe this is like the diner room or something like that. And then let's say there's another hallway that breaks off going this way. So let's draw that in. Try to keep it as proportional as possible. As you can see, I have 5 right here in between and 5 right here in between. And then we just keep on drawing our rooms in. So there'll be a small room right here, kind of like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for a doorway. Maybe the doorway kind of comes in like that a little bit and is bigger on the left side like that. Very nice. And then maybe another hallway, sort of. Maybe there's different exits to the room. So that way, let's make one here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in between. Draw it in. Fix our mistakes. And maybe this one brings you into a much bigger room than all the other ones. Kind of like this. Just draw it in roughly and then fix your edges and other faces you don't want selected. Like that, okay? But maybe this room is not a full square, so let's cut out some areas. So we don't need these anymore. maybe there's a partition wall right here. So we don't need that anymore. And then let's just cut out a little box in the corner. Because pretty much what we're doing is just making a maze, in a sense. Perhaps these two rooms are actually connected here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They connect. And maybe this hallway branches off into a little closet or something, right? Another little room for the player to explore. Maybe there's a hidden item in here, like a chest or something like that. I don't know. It's your guys' game. And then with that now, we have all this other room that we can do. So let's maybe draw in another room over here. And this room is a big rectangle that kind of looks like an L, like this. And then there's another hallway right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Branch down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that connects right there, like this. Remember keeping it proportional, so that way I have 5 boxes in between, 5 boxes in between, just to keep it even, and you know the player is going to be able to walk through freely. And then it connects up here, like this. What we want to make sure we do is wherever the rooms are connecting, so right here, for example, here's my hallway, make sure to not have these selected, because these are our walls we're drawing in right now. So if, oh wow, this is looking kind of confusing, huh? Let's cut these out, because that's a hallway, this is that closet, and maybe the closet, yeah, that looks good. That looks good right there. Draw this out, draw that out. Like I said, guys, this is going to be a full-length tutorial, so you're going to be seeing all my mistakes, all my errors I'm making, and then just kind of into my brain as to what I'm thinking when I'm building this very basic horror game. Maybe there's a little closet over here, sort of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sort of like this, it kind of just branches off that big room that we made. Let's keep it proportional, like that, except maybe the corners are boxed in like that. Nice, looking good, looking good. Maybe this hallway here has 2 entrances. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we'll go over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then that all connects. Let's go up one more. That all connects into another room. It all connects into, so it goes over 1, 2, up. Yeah, so 2 entrances, excuse me, to this one weird looking room, and maybe this is where the enemy is going to start. Perhaps I'll put him here, and then he can wander around to the individual points. I like that idea. Over here we have another hallway, right? And this hallway is to a really long, skinny room. I don't really know what this room might be. Maybe there's a little cove right here. Perhaps we hide a chest there. Maybe the gun's in a desk. Maybe this is the guy's office of the house that we're kind of exploring into. I'm not sure. Let's make sure that's open right there. And this needs to be open as well. And then let's actually figure a way to make one more room in this area, because that's a pretty big open space we haven't used. Let's actually go into here and draw another room. So let's draw it in. Kind of like this. And that's what the room is going to look like. Now, how do we get into that room? We don't want to make another doorway right here. Or maybe we could. We can go like this. We can do this to get into here. But because it's such a tight space, maybe there's a different way to get out. So let's make it so this room can actually branch off here into the big room. So that way the big room not only has this little closet space, but it also has this big room that connects around. And maybe it connects right here into that room that we said was going to be the office. Like this. And then the office actually has this little spacer in between right there. Nice. So now we have this shape like a maze, and I feel like there should be something over here. Even if it's just an empty room that the player walks into and is like, oh, there's nothing here. There just needed to be something right here like this. And then maybe it bumps out a little bit like that. Open it up. And now we have this big maze looking thing. So since we have it, I'm going to do Shift F to fly over to my player. And I'm going to do E to extrude everything that we just built. And I don't want the walls to be too tall. So right here's our camera. Above will be the ceiling. So let's just, yeah, right there looks good. Right there looks good. And now we have all this room for the player to roam around. So what I'm gonna do is press 5-1 on the keyboard, do Z to see through the walls, and then I'm gonna press B to box select. I'm gonna box select all the walls we just built. So let me show you. We did that. We press P and we do selection, and now the walls are actually separate from the floor. This is gonna make it easier to add materials and textures to it. So what I'll do is go into materials, add a new, and I'll call this walls. Without that slash mark, I don't know why I did that. And then in the hierarchy, I'll actually do walls. And then I'm gonna use this little eye icon up here to hide it. Click the floor, call it floor. Add a new material, call it floor. Now that we have this, we can actually see where the walking space is. So if I put the walls back on, or actually let's take it off. You can see where the player can walk, obviously, because it's all in the cut-in zone. So what I'm going to do is press L. So you hover over the walking space, you do L, do P selection again. So now the actual walking area is separate than this object, which is just out of bounds pretty much. So what I'll do is X faces, and now we just have the floor the player can walk on. From there, actually just delete the whole thing. Put my walls back on and make sure that the whole walking space has a floor, and it does. And that is the basics on how to make a maze inside of Blender. So now it's all about texturing. Let's select our walls. I'm gonna do Tab, A to select all, Mesh, UV Unwrap, Smart UV Project, and just press OK. All right. Now that we have this, let's go into the texture. That's a little checkerboard up here next to the material. I'll press New, Open. Let's find where we downloaded the basic horror game assets, miscellaneous textures. And right up here, you can actually do icons instead. And now we just need to find a good texture. So as you guys can see, there's bricks, carpet, there's grass, rubber, metals. There's all sorts of textures in here that you can use. In my case, I'm going to do a stone wall, and you can see there's no texture assigned to it yet, and that's because we're not in material mode. And it's very dark, and we only have this one light source. So what I like to do is go to this globe icon, and you add ambient occlusion and the environmental lighting, and now we can see the stone texture on the walls. So it's really bad right now. So what we're gonna do is go to UV edit, add it to material mode again, select our walls, tab to go into edit mode, and you will see it all right here mapped out. We can actually add the stone wall texture into it, and we're just gonna select all using A and S to scale it up a ton until it starts to look correct. So as you can see, a lot of the walls are going the wrong way. Some of them are looking correct, some are not. I think that texture needs to be shrunk down a little bit so we can actually see the bricks. So what you want to do is find the majority, which my majority seems to be facing, it seems to be an even split, correct, which is horizontal like this, and then some are standing vertical. So what we're gonna have to do, unfortunately this is texturing inside of Blender, we have to find all the walls that are facing the wrong way, select them, and then go back into our UV edit and flip it. So what we need to do is start finding all of our walls. I'm using C again to select them. Don't select the ones that are facing the correct way, only ones that are facing the wrong way, which this room actually textured correctly, which is good. These ones that are standing up, I'm just selecting those. These need to be selected. This whole hallway right here needs to be selected, so we will do that. You don't need to select anything outside the map because the player will never see it. This is a very tedious and time-consuming part of the tutorial, and I do apologize. While I do this though, if you guys could drop me a like, subscribe if you do enjoy today's tutorial, it would help me out a ton. And yeah, there's a lot of walls to do in here. I know, just get through it, and I promise you the finished product will be worth it. Okay, that looks good. These do not. Like I said, there's going to be no cuts in this video, and if there is, they're going to be minor things like I have to run upstairs and do something or something like that. I'm not going to skip any of the content done in today's video. Let's check out this little closet area here, which textured correctly, which is very nice. I like it when the textures work properly. If you guys do enjoy these types of videos of me actually sitting down and building a game from start to finish, let me know in the comment section and maybe give me suggestions on what kind of game you want me to build next, whether it's a survival game or FPS game. They will be very basic, like today's tutorial is going to be. The scripts are very basic, but they're easy to read and they're very easy to adapt to your own game, and that's pretty much the reason why I'm making this tutorial, is just to get you guys a template to start your own game, because this game is going to be made in, you know, a couple of hours maybe, and it's going to be very basic. It's just simple as that. There's going to be little to no fanciness to it. It's just supposed to be a template that you guys can build upon to actually get your horror game started. You can see why I said this is a very tedious and time-consuming part of this video, but once it's done, everything will be aligned properly. That is to say, myself and you guys do not miss anything. This model will actually be inside the folder for you already, so unless you're building your own map, you could just use this for your template or even for your game. All my assets are always free to use for your games, for commercial use, for personal use. I really don't care. That's the whole point of this YouTube channel, is to teach you guys. And if I was not supplying you guys with the stuff I'm teaching you, then what kind of teacher am I? we are getting to the end here of selecting all these. I will do one more pass through the entire map to actually make sure I'm not missing anything. We are currently 25 minutes into the tutorial though, and we almost have a fully functional map with textures and everything like that. And also, all the extra stuff I did, deleting the outside of the map, you don't necessarily need to do that. It just saves on processing and stuff like that with building the game, and ensures that nothing is really going on outside the map. Because why render the rest of that square in the floor when there's no need? There was no need for it, so we deleted it. Alright, so now that we're here, it looks to me that I've selected all the walls that are facing the wrong way. Like I said, I'm just doing one more pass through because especially since I'm letting you guys use this model, I want it to be almost perfect. Which everything is looking good. Everything looks like it's selected. I don't think I missed anything. If I did, we can always go back and correct it later. But yeah, no, this looks good. Oh, wait, we did miss one right here. Is there anything inside this closet? Hallway, maybe? No. Okay, so now that you've selected everything that was incorrectly placed on that texture map, we can go back to UV editing, and all we're gonna do inside the texture here, we do R and we type 90. And now all the walls should be facing the correct way, which it looks like they are. So that means the walls are finished. And with that, we can actually start working on the floor. So again, right click on the floor to select it all, mesh, UV unwrap, unwrap it. We go back to our texture and we add a new texture. Again, from our miscellaneous textures, or if you guys have your own textures you want to download, go right ahead. Let's see, what's a good floor for brick walls? Let's do maybe a tile of some sort. Or we could do a wooden floor. Maybe we do a wooden floor, but this one right here is a pretty old wooden floor, or we do this dark one to match the walls. Let's add this wood floor and actually see how it tiles first before doing anything. So we have already unwrapped it. It's okay if you forget if you unwrapped it and you unwrap it again, that's perfectly fine. UV edit. Let's make sure we got the right floor. And what is going on? The material is not casting to the floor. Did I forget something here? Like I said, you guys are going to see all of my mistakes in today's tutorial. Did I not assign the floor texture? Okay, that's why. If your texture's not showing up, select the floor. Make sure your floor material is there, and let's re-add the wood floor. That was my fault. Like I said, guys, there's gonna be a lot of mistakes in this video and I'm gonna correct them all. And now, where's our player? Right here. So let's set the camera right here where the player is gonna be looking, and let's make sure to tile it correctly, because obviously we wouldn't want it small like this, because as the player this makes no sense. The planks are way too big. Vice versa, we can't do this because the planks are way too small. So let's get it to a pretty good size. And actually, I don't really like this floor texture because it's just straight planks. So this plank runs from one wall all the way down to the rest. I do enjoy the wood. So what I'm going to do is actually change the floor I'm using to, I think, this one. I like this one a little bit better because it's, you can see the individual planks in there, and then it looks a little more grimy. so it matches the brick wall. So we can tile it up, and let's make the planks longer. I'm doing this by doing S to scale, pressing Z to go on the Z axis. So let's make them pretty long. And then it's just playing around with the texture really to get it exactly how you want it to look. I think that looks good. Yeah, that will work. For now, I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so now we have the basic map textured. To add a little more life to it, I'm gonna add dirt piles, just because this, I'm kind of making almost like a dungeon type area, because I feel like dungeons are pretty spooky and they're pretty grimy. So what I'm gonna do to make dirt piles is very simple. I'm gonna add another plane. Let's start it over here. Actually, I lied. We're gonna start in the center. So let's do 7.5. Let's scale it up. Scale it up. And what I'm gonna do, edit mode, I'm gonna subdivide it a lot, like this. Okay? We're going to bring it to about the floor level. And what I'm gonna do, we should really tile it again. So what I'll do is tile it again. Don't tile it too much, or I should say subdivide it too much, because it will start lagging everything. So what I'll do is I'm gonna select a few points around. So maybe there's a dirt pile over here, and this dirt pile is a little bit bigger, so it goes this way a little bit. I'm holding shift to actually do this. I can actually go up here again and maybe get circle select right there. There's a little select here, a little over here. Maybe there's a big pile right here in the center of this room, kind of like this. Maybe some over here in this non-walkable area. Pile up in this corner. Little pile over here inside the closet. A little bit in the hallways, right? So just keep drawing it in where you think the dirt is going to be if you guys want dirt inside of your scene. Draw it in over here. It's okay if you draw it outside the lines, because again, we're going to be deleting what the player doesn't see to save on memory and such. And we've built the walls tall enough to where the player can actually walk over the dirt pile. Maybe there's just a huge buildup over there in that corner. And then piles over here, pile here. This room is just filled with it, and including the hallway like this. The closet has a little bit. The big room, pile here, a little there, a little there. I feel like Bob Ross right now. A little bit here, a little there. So. Don't add too much, because it is supposed to be just a subtle detail. Okay, now, watch. If I were to just extrude this right now, it's gonna look like this, and we don't want it to look like that. So what we'll actually do is we press O on our keyboard, and it makes it a proportional grab. So what we're gonna do, make the circle sort of biggish, and then just bring the dirt up like that, okay? And now what we do is let's texture it so I can show you this a little better. So let's name this dirt, as well as the plane that is the dirt. New, open. Let's go back to miscellaneous textures, and we'll add a dirt to it, okay? Again, tab, select all, mesh, UV unwrap. And then we go to UV editing, and wow, there's a lot of dirt in here. So let's select it all, scale it up, scale that texture. Go back to the player's view. As you can see, it looks pixely. So when the player looks down, you don't want it to look pixely. That is why we scale up the texture. I'm gonna scale it up a lot. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, now what we do is let's go into material. And what we do is we select our dirt and just bring it underneath the floor like this. See what I'm doing there? So now the piles that we just made are actually piles rather than just the whole map being dirt. And then you can actually go back in and refine each pile. So say this one was bigger. Maybe it's just a huge buildup inside this room, like that, right? This one's a buildup. This is the big one in the center that I was gonna build right there, like this. And then you can make these any sort of shape, size, whatever you want to suit your needs. I don't want to build them too big inside the hallways because they're already tight spaces for the player. You can make them tighter if you want. I'm just using my scroll wheel to get either a bigger selection of dirt or a smaller selection of dirt like this. There's a buildup in this corner right here. Maybe a buildup right there. Huge buildup, and it actually comes down over around here, connects to this pile here, like that. And this whole room is pretty much dirt. There's a buildup right here. I can see it now, right there. Then builds up from over there. Nice. Okay. Really put some effort into building your maps, guys, and take the time to perfect it the way you want. Think about how the map is going to play with the individual obstacles you're adding. So build up right here, and it just connects there in the center. Okay. And that build up actually went all the way down the hallway like this. And then it slowly faded out to the edge of the hallway there. Build up here. Another tip for Blender that I like to do, which I should have shown off earlier in the video, is the camera view. I personally don't enjoy the default view, so what you can actually do, go to no, I lied. You go press N, and then your view lens, I usually like to put it at 25. And it just gives you a wider view of the scene to actually see around. I should have said that earlier. It was just bugging me up until now. I couldn't figure out what was bugging me, but that was it. Okay, we have our dirt all piled up around the scene. Let's do 5-1. And what we want to do, press Z to see through the map. You want to get the box select tool and select as much of it as you can without grabbing the rest of the floor, which I failed at doing because we need to actually grab more of this. So what we're going to do is not the box select. We're going to go in and start selecting just around the piles. We don't want to grab too much. So like out here, the outside of the map, we don't need to grab any of that. We don't need any of it. And then you pretty much just use your C select tool to select the dirt here, which we should do, but I have changed my mind. We're not actually going to do that at all, just because that's going to take too long for today's video. This video, I assume, is already going to be pretty long, so we'll just leave it outside the map. If you guys are running on a lower end PC, I do recommend deleting everything the player can't see. Yeah. What we're going to do now, select your dirt, tools, smooth it, just so they don't have the faces like this, and they smooth with lighting properly. Not like dirt is going to have much lighting on it, but yeah. So with that, we have our player right here. Obviously he won't be able to climb up to here because there will be a ceiling, which we're actually gonna do right now. So what I'll do, I'm gonna create a cube. Now, since this is just a ceiling, it does not matter if it's outside the map. It is strictly to hide the outside world from the player. So if I make it a little bit bigger than my play area, like this is not a big deal. This does not matter on how much memory you're using or anything like that, because it's just a square compared to the dirt, which is all these individual squares. So now that I have this, I'm going to bring it up to where it's just above, like that. So that way it's not completely on top of the ceiling, but it is inside of it a little bit, or the walls here, so they just connect. I will delete the top face though, because that will help save on memory a tidbit if you guys care about that. I don't, so I'm going to keep it. It is just one square, it's not going to do anything. I'll select the inside, because this is the only face we want to add a texture to. We don't need to add a texture to outside or the sides. So from the inside, select it. Let's rename it to ceiling. I hope I spelled that right. I don't think I did. Spelling is not my strong suit. Ceiling for a material. Grab a texture of your choice. So let's see what we have for a ceiling. I think I'm gonna use this floor tile right here. Just because it's grimy, it's going to match. Unwrap it into UV edit mode and scale it up. I'm gonna scale it up a lot so it actually looks like a tile ceiling, like so. And now you guys, we have a map that the player can roam around, open chests, run from enemies, do whatever it needs. So what I'll do now is I'm gonna delete the, if I can select it, that'd be very nice. Where is it? Let me hide the ceiling so I can delete the light, because we don't need the light. Let's delete the camera because we don't need the camera anymore. The player test, we can delete that as well. Turn our ceiling back on, and I'm going to save. I'll actually save it to the basic horror assets, so when you guys download the folder, you already have it. So we could just do this. Name it map, file, save as. I'll save it as a Blender file, so that way you guys can go in and edit it if you want to. Textures and such. Go in here, map. I will call it map Blender file. And then I will actually export it as an FBX as well. If you guys aren't using Blender, you can import it to other applications like 3ds Max and stuff like that. I will be importing the FBX file to Unity because Unity reads FBX files better than Blender files. So I'll call this map FBX file. And now that it's saved, we can actually exit out of Blender. And what I should actually do is just turn this down because I don't want it to echo to my mic. I have it going through my speakers at the moment. I'm going to bring this to my second screen just so I can import into Unity a little bit easier. I'm going to go to Unity. And of course, Unity decided to open on my other screen. So I'm just going to make a new project. It's going to be a basic 3D. We're not doing URP or UDRP. We're not doing any of that. So we will name this Full Horror Tutorial. Just for now. I don't know why it's saving to my VR location, but that's fine. We'll just do that for now. And once Unity loads, we can jump right into building everything. Like I said, this package I've made for you guys is pretty much like adult Legos. You can't really screw it up, especially if you're watching the tutorial and following everything. I'm not gonna go completely over what is in the scripts. I will open them so you guys see how everything is working and the choices I've made to make it universal for you guys. Why is that like this? I do not like that at all. Why is my hierarchy? I mean, I guess that's okay. I usually like my hierarchy like this, so it's all even, both sides. My layout, I use a 2x3. Just because that's what I like. I usually turn this down all the way, so it's just names, and then I pull all this stuff to the side, like that. This is my game view. You guys probably know that already because my previous tutorials. If you're new, 2x3 split is the way to go. Don't use default, because then you just have your build. Tall, no thanks. What else do we have? 4 split. Why would you need this unless you're building a 2D game? You might use that. Definitely 2x3 split is the way to go. Unless you have 2 monitors. I have 2 monitors, so usually what I do is I'll pull the game view onto one monitor, full screen it, and then I just have my scene to build right here. But because I can't record both screens like that, I'm just going to keep it by 2x3 split like that. Alright, so what we're going to do is just bring down the game view because we don't need that right now. Let's make sure it is max on play so when we do play the game, it is full screened, like this. I will bring in the basic horror assets that, you guys can find in the description. Just drop it right into the assets and it's going to import everything, including the map we just built. Once this is done, come on Unity, I know you can do it. Come on Unity, come on Unity. There is a lot it's importing right now with sound effects, stuff like that, which we're gonna actually have to make a new sound effect because our floor is not tile, it is a wood sound effect. This material can't be found. You can either ignore it or fix it now. It doesn't matter, so I'm just gonna ignore it. Go into the basic horror assets, the map, FBX file, click and drag that into the hierarchy. And now it's done. There it is, guys. That's the tutorial. I'm just kidding. I am just kidding. We have our map in here. We can press this light icon. So when you have it unlit like this, this is just basic lighting. When it's on, this is what the actual player will see. So what I'll do from here is figure out which room was gonna be the starting room. I'm getting lost in my own maze. So what we can actually do is click the ceiling, just turn it off for now, okay? Just turn it off, and I can see over here is where I wanted the player to start. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna create 3D capsule. This is what our player model will be. It handles everything. So there it is, our player. Let's make him a little bit taller. So Y, let's do 1.5 like this. So that way he's a little stretched bean. And then click the capsule, rename it to player. And some of the scripts depend on it being tagged player. So let's tag it as a player. We will right click camera. And I'm gonna bring the camera up right above the collider like this. And I'll actually delete the camera that the scene comes with. Let's click our camera, field of view. I like it to be 80 just because that's a really modern feel for most games. Clipping planes do 0.001 to be really far away. We do that so we don't clip through anything here. Okay, from there, what else should we do? We can get the player moving. Let's do that. So click the player, go into the basic horror assets, scripts, and you can find player controller. Let's click and drag that into the player. And in here, we need to assign the player camera. So our camera we just created. We have a walk speed, which is defaulted to 3. That's fine. My run speed is defaulted to 5, which is fine. There'll be no jumping in my game, so I have the jump power to 0. And then right here are the sound effects. There's just a basic wood tile carpet. You guys can always add more if you need to. It has a footstep audio position, so we need to actually add the audio source to that. So footstep audio position, that's going to be the player itself. Audio source, we need to add a audio source to the player. Keep it empty. Play on wake, turn off, or else you're going to hear your sound effect right off the bat. And then click and drag the audio source into there. Initial FOV, change it to 80. And then zoom FOV, I'm going to do as 50. I'll get into what that is in just a second here. So let's play the game. Let's make sure, oh, of course, that is correct. We need to make sure the floor, the dirt, floor, and walls, just control click them all, add a component, and that's going to be a mesh collider, okay? What that does is adds a collider to the mesh. And now we can walk around. If you hold the right click, that's what the zoom FOV does. It's just something I like to do. A lot of horror games do it. Outlast, Slenderman. We can run around the scene, which the run is actually kind of slow. So what we might actually do is improve that speed. The walk feels all right. But now we have this maze-like area that we can walk. I like this camera because it actually smooths. It's not just a snap to different locations. You can still see your capsule, which we're going to deactivate that in a second here. But here it is. So let's go player, mesh renderer, just take that off, and now the player won't be seen. Also, make sure the collider here, just bring it up so it is just above the floor like that, okay? Let's see, what is the next thing we are going to do? Let's actually continue developing the player. So if you guys are familiar with the channel, we're going to be using what I like to call a reach tool. A lot of you hate it. The reason I like to use it is because it is such a basic way to introduce interacting with items rather than raycasting. And for someone that is a complete noob at Unity, and this is the first tutorial they're watching start to finish, it's very basic code, it's easy to use, and it's just easier to understand than a raycast, like I was saying. So what we do is we go to our camera, we go 3D object, we say cube, okay? The cube's gonna be a little distorted because the actual player model is distorted. That's fine, just get it as close to a square again as possible. And with the tool over here, which is our scale tool, bring the box in front of the player. Look inside your game view. Scale the box down until it's a decent size, like that, okay? So this is what we're gonna be interacting with the world with. So if you want to be really precise with where the player hits an object to interact with it, make it super small. Make it the size of your crosshair pretty much, right? I'll just do it like this for now. Scale it out. Make sure it actually passes the player so it doesn't interact with our shoot function. If we had it like this in front, the gun is going to accidentally shoot this reach tool. So we will just bring it behind it a little bit, untick max on play, and then just make sure in the what is going on there? What is it doing? That is weird. Do you guys see that? How the collider is not attached anymore. That is odd. Is that just the perception of it, or are we having a little glitch here? I don't actually know. That is odd. But we're going to roll with it for now. Just make sure that the collider actually can be looked at through the ground. Oops. And yeah, that's all we have to make sure. We just don't want it too short, too big, whatever. Why? That is super weird. I've never experienced that before with the colliders actually getting outside of the object. Super weird, but that's fine. We're going to make sure this is a trigger. And then we're gonna add a rigid body to it. And then the constraints, we just freeze everything. So that way when we play the game, it doesn't fall. That is super weird. Yeah, we might need to fix that later on, but for now that's fine. We do want to get rid of the mesh renderer because we don't need it. We don't want to accidentally see it at any time. With that, let's actually create a HUD. So go to camera, UI, where is it? Canvas. We're gonna rename it to HUD main. HUD main. Canvas scaler, let's scale with the screen. Let's do 1920 by 1080. It's just a very easy resolution to use, and it scales down or up very easily. We will go into HUD main, right click, and should I make it a separate object? I will. I'm gonna do create empty. I'm gonna call it the crosshairs. And then inside there, I will add a UI image. Raw image, that is. And I will call this default underscore crosshair. And then I'll add another UI raw image, and I'll call this grab underscore crosshair. If I could spell that right, that'd be nice. Let's tick off grab crosshair and then do the default one. Let's find a texture and let's type in knob, which is just a default knob from Unity. I'm going to scale it. Let's do 30 by 30. Let's play the game in max on play to make sure it looks nice. Kind of big, but that is fine. Let's turn back on the grab crosshair, and then we're going to add the hand UI to it. And since the default one was 30 by 30, I'll do this one 50 by 50. 75 by 75. So the reason I do this is, first of all, you want to make sure the grab crosshair is below. So that way when it gets turned on, it hides the main crosshair. So it looks like it's just changing the crosshair, but instead it's being placed on top of it. Let's play the game. And yeah, that looks good for grabbing objects. And with that, we need to be able to grab stuff. So project settings, input manager, add another line in here. So we'll do 19. And from there, it's going to create a new function. So let's rename this to interact. And then positive button, do whatever button is going to be your interact button. I'm going to do E. All right, so now that we have the input stuff out the way, the reason we did that is because the scripts are going to be reading the input manager for an input called input. Pretty cool stuff. And since we've been focusing on the player so much, let's actually add the game objects that we're going to be using. So let's rename that cube. We're going to call that reach tool. Just to keep everything organized, we need to add a new tag, and this is going to be called reach. And we'll save that, and then we click the reach tool once again and make sure it is tagged reach. So what I'm going to do inside camera, I'm going to go game object, and I'll call this, I'm just going to call it the inventory. It's a very basic inventory system. It's just storing items. It's nothing that we can actually press 1 or scroll up to go to another object. So what we'll do is we go into the horror assets. Let's go into models, arms, and you'll see that we have our arms right here. We're going to click and drag that into the scene, and wow, they are small. Those are small arms. So what we need to do is actually scale them up to a more proper size, and then I'll click and drag it up into the player's view. We can go into orthographic top view, double click the arms, and just center them with the player as good as possible. It doesn't need to be 100%. We'll be using the right arm for our lantern, and then the left arm will be for our pistol. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually add we have a material, we'll add the arms to that material, and then add the material to the arm object. excuse me, we will put the arms inside the inventory, and I will call this lantern arms. And then we're gonna do Control D to duplicate, and we'll call this gun arms. So let's get rid of gun arms. Let's just hide it. We'll go back into models. We'll do lantern, and then we click and drag the lantern into the scene. If it's not centered like it is right now on my screen, you change the pivot point right here to center. And let's get this set up in here. Let's set it up where the arm is supposed to be, or the lantern's supposed to be with the arm, which is going to be about right there. Go to game view, we have a lantern. He's almost holding it, not fully though. So now it's pretty much just up to actually getting it set up. So let's go into lantern arms. We have our armature, master. The left arm, like I said, is going to be strictly for the gun. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the scale on the X, Y, and Z down to 0. So completely get rid of that left arm. And I'm gonna turn gizmos off so our camera's not in our face when we're trying to do this. Let's make it so the lantern is rotated a little bit, maybe like this. And then let's actually wrap the chain around the arm, I think. Yeah. So what we'll do is go into the bones. There's a bunch of individual bones for the individual segments of the chain link. Unfortunately, I did the bones from the top down instead of the bottom up, so the bones are reversed order. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna grab a few bones and wrap them around each other to form this sort of shape like that. And then when you're done doing that, we get another bone, do the local rotation, and then we'll make it like this. Rotate the lantern on the center pivot. Where is it going? Let's just get it set up all correctly. This part is going to be a pain in the ass, and that's my own fault because I didn't do the armature correctly. So always make sure it's correct. I could fix it, but it's not going to cause me much of a problem because it's going to be attached to the hand object. So right about, where do we want it to go? I want the chain to be wrapped around the hand a little bit. So right like this. That looks okay-ish. It's not the greatest, but like I said, this is just very basic stuff to get this working. Let's go into our left arm, and we will go to hand and actually start making it look. Where are we? What is going on back here? Oh, duh, I'm holding the wrong one. What is this? Something is happening inside of our Unity editor here, causing the arm not to work properly. Oh my goodness, I'm an idiot because I'm using the left arm that's not even here. Right arm. Like I said, guys, no cuts in this video, so a lot of mistakes to be made. That is one of them. So what I'll do is I'll grab the index, the long, pinky, and ring, and make them close up like this. Go inside them, grab the individual parts, rotate them in, and that kind of looks like a fist. So let's bring the thumb down like this. And with that, it almost looks like we're holding a lantern object. So what we can do from there is actually, excuse me, click and drag the lantern into the hand. So now it's part of the hand object. When we rotate the hand, it rotates the lantern. So let's get it kind of where we want it to be. So if I was holding a lantern, I'd probably be holding it like this. in a way. Like that, sort of, right? Kind of looks like we're holding it. Let's bring out the arm a little bit. Let's bring it down. And then maybe the arm needs to be rotated up a little more, like this. And the hand needs to go like this. Very basic. It's just for us to be holding the lantern. So when we play the game, because it's part of our camera. Oh. What is happening here? Does anybody know why it's doing this weird effect? Let me show you why. It's because our player object, we actually changed the Y position on the transform to 1.5. So we do it back to 1. Play the game. It doesn't do it anymore. But now our arm is distorted. So what we have to do is fix that, because that's my mistake. We added objects to another game object that had a different scale to it. So we need to now just scale these arms up like this. Sorry about that, guys. That's my mistake entirely. But now play the game. Kind of looks correct. The player's now shorter. So what we should have done before was actually grabbed the player's camera and changed the height on the camera rather than the actual capsule here. So with that, that fixes that problem. Arm looks a little janky. It's fine. It doesn't matter. This is just for a tutorial. You guys can fine tune anything you want, but it is there. So let's add a little animation to it. So we're going to touch some basic animations. We're going to go Window, Animation, Animation. Click and drag that right here. And then we will create a new folder. You guys won't have this folder because animations are going to be yours to make, except for the enemies animations, which are pre-made by Mixamo. So I will call this animations. Go inside there, let's create. I'm going to call this, I'll call this lantern idle. Lantern underscore idle, because I like to keep everything sort of organized. So we'll start recording. I'm going to grab the lantern arms, and let's say it starts down here with a little bit of a rotation on the arm. Goes down like this a little bit. The lantern gets out like this a little bit, right? Okay. And now what I'll do is actually go inside the lantern object. So that way the lantern looks like it's swaying, but really it's not. It's just an animation being played. So go down a few bones. And since the arm is down like this, let's bring the lantern out like this. Excuse me again. Go down a few more bones. Lantern sways outwards. Let's say there's a 2-second interval for the player to take the arm, comes back up, arm goes in, hand goes down, and that means the lantern would swing this way like that. And we can add other things in there, like maybe at the 1-second mark the lantern kind of goes like this and twists. Lantern over here twists like this. Over here the lantern might twist like that, okay? And then we grab our first keyframe here. We do Control-C. Let's go down to the 4 mark and do it right there, Control-V. And then at the 3-second mark, let's make the lantern sway back this way. So I don't know if we watch the animation. It looks pretty okay for what we're trying to achieve. I don't like how it stops at the top there and then decides to come back down. So maybe we need to add something else to it. Unless we just play the game, and like I said, you guys can fine-tune everything. This tutorial's just to get everything working properly. I mean, I guess that looks fine for tutorial's sake. From there, we're actually going to add a script to the lantern arms. Now, we go into basic horror assets, scripts, and we add the sway script to it. So what this does, let me turn off sway so you can see a difference here. Look around, it's kind of just pasted to the player and the animation's just playing on the player, right? So what we actually need to do, turn sway on, let's do sway factor, let's turn it to, let's say 7.5, smooth factor, let's do 3. Now if we play the game and try looking around, it doesn't do anything. Do you guys know why it's not doing anything? Because what is going on? Did I mess up somewhere? Yes, I did. We messed up big time, guys. We made this animation on the player object. It should not have been on the player object. So let's copy it, remove it. Lantern arms needs this animation, so paste is new. And that just completely corrupted it. Okay. Yeah. This is what happens in game dev, guys. We make mistakes. So what we're gonna do is actually, is this gonna work if I just paste it on here? So what we're gonna do actually is delete the animation we just made. Click on the lantern arms, remove. Click lantern arms, create lantern underscore idle. Now the animation is part of the lantern arms, okay? This is where we want to actually make the animation, because before we made it inside of the player game object, which affects every object inside of it, which is not what I wanted to do. It's my own mistake. I know. I do apologize, but I'm going to quickly kind of replicate the animation we just made. Kind of like this. I'm just trying to do this quickly because I'm taking up your time, I'm taking up valuable tutorial time, and I really do apologize for it, guys. Okay. Hand goes down. Hand goes up. Hand goes up. The bone objects. Back. Rotates. Forward. Rotate some more. Let's make it rotate this way. Make sure they're actually overlapped instead of right next to each other. Okay, watch the animation. Okay, that's much better, all right? That is the animation we just recreated because, you know, I made a mistake. It happens. What we're gonna do now is I'll take lantern arms, turn the sway off, make sure everything's working properly. Okay, so we have the animation playing. It actually looks better than the one we just made. I wish the lantern was more visible rather than being behind the arm so much. That's fine. But like I was saying, it's just pasted onto the player. Turn on the sway. And now it's still not working. And that's because the animator needs to apply root motion. Now, that is so odd. What is happening here? The arm should be swaying as we look, but it's not. What if I turn the sway factor up a ton? How odd. I see what's going on here. Okay, let's change that back to 7.5 and put this back to 3. The script is not working because I'll actually open it up and show you. Of course, it opens on my other screen. That's perfectly fine though. As you can see, there is a camera right here, and it's asking for the main camera, which we have not set up because it's untagged. So we just tag it as main camera, and now when we play, there it is. We have an arm that adjusts the way it looks according to the camera itself. It just gives it a little more character rather than just being pasted there. Perfect. Okay, now that we have that working, I feel much better now. Okay, let's go into our inventory, close up lantern arms, and put gun arms on. And then we will make the right arm scale 0, 0, 0. So now we have our left arm, and we have our right arm with the lantern. See how that works? Perfect. Let's go into gun arms. Obviously, gun arms is going to hold the gun, so we need to go to models, Glock. And this is a very, very basic low poly model of a Glock. Well, what we need to do is get it into our scene and then assign the different materials to it. This is our cartridge that's going to spit out from the side of the gun. We'll be doing that in a second. But let's get all these textures lined up to where they need to be, wherever that might be. Let's see, which texture goes where? That one goes here. This one goes where? Right there. That one goes there. That one does not go there. That one does not go there. That one goes here. And that one goes there. There's a little line right there, which is going to irritate me till I find the texture for it. You know what? The hand's going to be holding the gun. You won't really see that, so that doesn't actually matter. Obviously, you guys are probably going to want to make sure these textures are all lined up accordingly. What are we missing? We have this side of the gun, the top of it. Okay. That works good enough for me. So let's make sure the gun is flipped. The gun goes into his hand, which is actually a different little thing that a lot of games won't do, is actually place the gun in the player's left hand. So, little cool little thing I'm doing here. Let's rotate the gun so it fits in the hand properly, which the model of the pistol in real life should be smaller, but because it's a video game, we're just gonna be making it bigger. Okay, so now what we need to do is obviously get the gun to sit in the hand and wrap the fingers around it accordingly. So let's go into our left arm this time. We will grab all of our individual fingers and just sort of get it to where the gun is being held by the player. Doesn't need to be perfect, in my case that is. In your case, you probably want to get it as close to perfect as possible. But because I'm just doing a tutorial, I'm not releasing this game. This is strictly to show you guys how it's done. I personally don't care how it looks, as much as you should. Let's get all these fingers in here. Got our pinky finger right here. Very nice, very nice. Looks a little janky. Pull it up because the players won't see that side of the gun. Got our thumb twist inside here like that. And if we look at it in this view, it looks like he's holding a gun. Maybe the gun model should be shrunk a little bit. Bring it back, bring it down. That's fine for me. Now what we want to do, set the gun inside the player's hand. Inside the player's hand. Inside the player's hand. Thank you. Let's create an animation for it. We'll call this Glock. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Let's make sure we're in gun arm before I make it on the player again. We'll call this Glock underscore idle, which is going to be its idle state. Obviously, that's what that means. Let's go into our scene view here. And even though we're in an animation or in the game view, we can still animate with it being turned on, obviously. So let's get this gun looking the way we want it to. Let's say the arm comes down here. It gets bent up. And then that's when the hand is bent forward. Okay. Looks a little janky right now. I don't know what's going on there. Maybe the arm, or the actual whole arm, needs to be like this. This comes up. Gun gets pointed forward. Maybe it's off to the side a little bit because it's his left arm. It's the less dominant arm. I'm not sure. Bring it down like this. I like that. And now we just make an idle animation like we just did with the lantern. So let's say he gets a little tired. He kind of goes down a little bit. And the hand rotates outwards like this. And then it comes up a little bit. And that's going to be the idle state. So let's Control V on that starting frame. And now let's look at it all together. So let's turn the lantern back on. And in our game, when we have both the objects, it will look like this. Although we want to add the sway to that pistol too, don't we? So let's go into the gun arm, add component sway. And because it's a gun, it's going to want to sway more than the lantern. I assume the pistol's heavier than the lantern. So let's do 10, smooth factor of 4. Now when we play, the pistol slightly sways a little bit more than the lantern there. Very nice, very nice. Something we do need to do inside of gun arms, we need to select that first frame, Control C. We need to add another clip for Glock underscore shoot, because obviously the gun is going to shoot over time. So let's go to the 20 millisecond frame. Our left arm, the hand gets bent back for the recoil. Maybe gets bent this way a little bit, and the entire arm gets pushed backwards and down like this. And that's our shoot right there. Grab that first frame because the gun is going to want to come back down afterwards. And the way I made this gun, we go to the 0.5 of a second, we can go down to the gun. Actually, first frame, let's do slide. Hold Control, bring it back, and bring it forward. So we lock it into this position. At the 0.5 mark, the gun gets pulled back. Or the slide gets pulled back till right there. Right? And then at the, we'll do the 15 mark. Oh, we messed up right there. Let's redo that one frame. The 0.5, let's make sure we're on global. So it gets pulled. How far do we want it to get pulled though? We don't want it too much. Right about there. And then the 15 mark, it goes back up to signify the gun's been shot. And there is our shoot animation. Very basic, but it's going to work. Now what I'll do is actually just grab all the animations we just made and bring them into the animation folder. The shoot, click it. We don't want it to loop, obviously, for obvious reasons. It's only shooting once. And let's see what else we can do. Go to gun arms, add component. We're going to add the pistol script. Ammo and mag, it's a Glock, so I'm going to do 15 bullets. In storage, I'm going to have 0, because in my game, you find the gun, you have 15 shots, choose what you want to do with it. Shoot cooldown, I'm going to do as 0.75, because it's a pistol. Shoot range, I'll just bring that up to 250, because it's a gun, it's going to want to keep going. Impact effect, we don't have that yet, so we need to actually make that. Damager, let's do that as, let's do 15 hit points per shot. Cartridge eject point, so let's go into the gun. Right click it, add an empty, and we'll call this eject underscore point. And with the Glock specifically, it's over here on the left side. So it's gonna be like right there. Go back to gun arms. Eject point goes into eject. The eject prefab is the cartridge. Cartridge, where is that? Models, Glock, cart. This thing right here is the cartridge. So gun arms, cart goes into cartridge. What is this value right here? Eject force, that can stay as 5. Close all these up. Where is it? Animator is the gun arms. Muzzle flash light, and the shoot sound effect. Do I have the shoot sound effect for you guys inside this folder? Sounds. Pistol shot. Very basic pistol shot, but that's going to work for us right now. Pistol shot. We actually need to bring that into the gun arms. Click and drag that over to shoot, and then make sure it is play on wake is off. Muzzle flash, I believe I have that inside the effects folder. Muzzle flash. We will click and drag that into the scene, and it's glitching out. Very nice. That's what I like to see. Renderer. We're missing the material, so let's just do it as a soft particle if we can. Hello. Okay, so unfortunately, are both the effects broken? Yes, they are. So, with your folder, you're not going to have an effects folder because they're clearly broken. So I'll just right click, delete. That's a problem with moving assets around a lot. But what I'll do is we're going to use the Unity Asset Store. I know. Listen, it's going to be okay, guys. We are going to type in fire. We're going to do low to high. And just find a fire effect that you like. And of course, I don't have the right Unity version for that one. Doesn't matter, we can make our own fire, but I don't want this tutorial to be super long. We're already an hour and a half in, so it is going to be a pretty long tutorial. Procedural fire? This one looks good, because this is what I'll use for my lantern right here, so we're going to download that. I would pause the video right now and just let it download and import without showing you guys everything, but like I said, I don't want you guys to miss a thing with this tutorial. And if you have made it this long, please remember to drop me a like, subscribe if you're new, share with your friends, and let me know in the comments what game I should do a tutorial like this on next. Don't know why that script just opened out of nowhere. We have the fire. Now let's type in muzzle flash. And there's one that I specifically like to use. Realistic war effects. This one's a pretty good muzzle flash, and like bombs, smoke, everything like that. It's very optimized, so it's a nice one to use, and it's only, you know, it's less than 10 megabytes, so it doesn't take a whole bunch of space. Why does this keep opening? Every single time I import something into Unity, it always opens that. It's like reminding me like, hey, go code this yourself instead of using the store. Now remember guys, the store is a tool, okay? So if you guys are using it, use it wisely. Don't steal stuff from the asset store. 110% build your game. Do not asset flip, because people will catch on to that, and it's just unethical to take someone's free assets for prototyping and then claim it as your own. You know what I'm saying? Unless you have permission, like you guys have permission from me to use everything I'm doing inside this tutorial. So we'll go back into our left arm, go back to the gun, and we will go into, where is it? War effects. We're going to go to, which one? Effects. We want muzzle flash, FPS, and I'll be using this first one right here. Very, very basic muzzle flash, but it's going to work perfectly for what our game is. So let me line this up with this gun here. Rotate it as needed. Check it out in this view. That looks fine for me. And then we actually need to adjust it. So we're actually gonna get rid of the light, these sparks and glow. Let's click both of those. Turn looping off. And we want the duration to be like 0.35, I believe. Is it not changing both of them? So we need to actually change the duration down more. Let's do 0.05 and see where that gets us. Why does it seem like something is going on? What is this one? Glow. What is glow? We don't need that. We specifically want the spark here. But turn that off. Oh, it's because this is another piece to it. Okay, so spark and glow. Turn those back on. Duration 0.3. And you can see it plays twice. So let's bring it down to 0.2 because we just want it to play once. And then the actual parent object, we want to change it to 0.2 as well. And then turn looping off. So now it's just 1 per shot, okay? Bring that into your Glock, gun arms, bring that muzzle flash that we just created into muzzle flash light. We will right click on the gun, go light, and do a point light. And we're just gonna change it to yellow. It's gonna be, or maybe like an orange. It's just a little subtle detail, adding in the actual light object. I'll bring that in front of the gun a little bit. Not much. The range is only going to be 5. I'll change the intensity to 2. I think 2 will work nicely. Gun arms, bring that light source into muzzle flash light. Impact effect, we go into that war effects again. Effects. Not muzzle flash though. Bullet impact. Gun arms, and then I'll just click and drag that first one right here. So now, play the game. We are shooting. Very nice. But we're not playing the correct animation. So let's actually pistol open this up. Let's see, we have a few bools here. One for shoot. And that's it. So we only have a shoot bool. We also have a reload bool if you guys wanted to reload. So in our, we need to go window, animation, animator. Click on our gun arms. We have two animations, idle and shoot. So let's go to parameters, add a new bool, which before we do that, let's make sure that it's case sensitive, guys. So keep that in mind. It's lowercase. So add bool shoot. Right click on idle, make transition to shoot. This is going to have no exit time, no fixed duration. Actually, let's keep fixed duration on and bring this bar back to there. Then the animation shoots. And then after that, we have the another transition back to idle. And we want to, needs the exit time to play the animation. We can actually turn this up a little bit too. The shoot, let's change the speed to 1.25. And then let's just leave it like this and see where it brings us. Although we want this whole animation to play out before going. So we can just go like this and then that. Okay? So then you could see the animation plays and then goes back to idle right there. Very nice. We do need this bar going from idle to shoot. Conditions, add a condition, and that's only if shoot is true. So now, play the game. Cross your fingers and hope everything works. Okay. It's not playing the animation fully. Why? That's because I changed it to that. So we actually need the whole animation to play here. The animator is very confusing. It just takes a lot of playing around to get it working properly. So let's not max on play and actually see what's going on inside the animator here. So we shoot, clicks over, and the really short. Okay, so that's what's happening. Go here, change exit time off, fixed duration off, play the game. What is going on? It's not going back to the idle state, which is super weird. Let's delete. Did I do that wrong? Hello. Let's delete that, make transition to idle. Fixed duration off, but has exit time. Let's try that on for size. Okay, now our gun is working properly. Yeah, that works. All right. Is our gun ejecting the projectile correctly? No, the eject point needs to be, see, the red's going this way, so now we just rotate that 180 degrees. The red is going this way, so now when we play the game, that little cartridge gets shot the other way, which is exactly what we want. Okay. Is that everything for the player? I believe so, which is awesome. So with that, we don't want the player, well, personally, I don't want the player to start with the gun or the lantern, so I'm going to turn those off. So that way we start with absolutely nothing. Actually, I lied. Keep that lantern on, because the lantern needs a fire. So let's search for a fire. The magic fire that we just downloaded from the Unity Asset Store. Click and drag that in. That works for me. I'm going to bring that into my lantern, scale it. Okay, it doesn't scale properly, nice. Lifetime, let's change that to 0.75. Duration 0.75. And we'll have to do that with everything here. So 2, 1. And it's still really big. So let's play around with this until we get the shape that we need. Because obviously right now the fire is going way too far. Maybe we just need to change the speed constant. We can't do that, okay. Speed 0. This one. What is going on? Velocity over lifetime, that's what they all have, right? They must. That is why we can't adjust it through the other way. Force over lifetime. Just changing the values to get what we need to get here. Unless, can we do this? We put the fire into an empty game object. Scale it down. Keep on scaling it down. It's still really big for that lantern, so we just need to play around with it some more until we get the feel that we want. We should flash this off. Oh, I mean, it looks better with it, but that's fine. We're gonna adjust every piece individually, so I'm gonna flash everything off. There's our fire right there. We want to change the duration. Let's do 0.25, lifetime 0.25. Actually, I'll change it back to 0.75. We'll change the start size. That's what we're looking for right there. We're gonna do 0.5. Maybe even smaller to really fit it in there. Add in the sparks. Add in the fire. Sparks. Lifetime, let's do 0.1. And then duration 0.1. They are coming out of the lantern, so let's change the speed to 0.2. And then the shape, the radius of the sphere, let's change down. Now they're going really fast, so let's, lifetime, let's keep it at 0.1. Do the speed down to 0.05, 0.01, 0.001. Just to sort of, maybe no sparks, maybe no sparks. Why would there be a spark inside the lantern? Like I said, guys, we are going from start to finish to do this, so 0.75, 0.75. Size, we'll do a 0.3 to a 0.7. Smoke. Smoke looks fine, does it? We'll change that to 0.5, lifetime 0.5, start size 0.4 and 0.8. Fire dark, what is this part of it? Okay, we'll do that to 0.5, lifetime 0.5, start size 0.1, and that can go all the way up to 1. And then we need to add a light source to it, point light. We can have this be 25, intensity we'll do 1.2. We're gonna add a component halo. I think the halos just make it look really nice, so let's do a dark orange, same thing with the actual color of the light, an orange. And then the size of the halo is gonna be 0.2, 0.5, 0.6, 0.65. And then I'll just bring it up so it's in there. And now all this can go inside of lantern arms. Like I said, guys, I am not taking much time doing this. I am just showing you how to do it. Bring the magic fire into the lantern, play the game. Very basic looking lantern. The fire is coming outside the lantern. If you guys do this and I play your games, which you can leave in the Discord, I'm always willing to play the games, I am going to judge this negative 25 points. Okay, lantern's done. Let's close all this up. And now we can actually get out of the lantern. We can turn that off because we don't need it right now. Let's go into our basic horror assets here. Let's check out models and let's bring in... I have forgotten to give you guys the chest, didn't I? I did. That is unfortunate. So what I'll have to do is actually add the chest into your guys' project file. So again, no cuts in the video. I make mistakes, you guys make mistakes, stuff happens. Let's open up this other Unity project that I have. I wonder what happened to the chest model because I know for a fact I made one. I'm just gonna steal it from this project, which is pretty much what inspired this whole video here. So let's find the chest. Where's the chest? Is it part of the whole map? I think so. So I'll deactivate the animator, add the chest inside the assets, right click, show in Explorer. Adds it as a prefab. I think that'll be fine. I'm going to copy it, paste it, and then in the models folder, you guys will already have the chest inside. So let's add the chest in, and it's not here. All right. Like I said, your guys' video or your guys' folder will already have this. And where, oh, where could it be? You know what? We're gonna say to hell with it, and we're gonna make a new chest model. I'm gonna keep it very basic, but we're just gonna have to do it because for some reason I cannot seem to find my original chest I made. So let's get in here, start making this model, something like this. Like I said, your videos or your project files are already gonna have this. This is just a huge error on my part. I do apologize for having to do this right now. I wanted to have everything set ready to go for you guys, but this is what happens during game dev, okay? So we will just go in, make a very, very basic chest model. Like this, okay? And then grab these faces here. Median point, like this. I don't want to do that because I want to do it on both sides. Median point. Again, guys. 2, 3, 6, 10. Very sorry about this. 8, 10. Just some quick speed modeling for you guys, you know? This is why I purposely did this, is I wanted to speed model a chest for you. Still want to make it a little pretty just because you guys will be using this. We'll use the good old bridge command, and it didn't work. What the hell's going on here, dude? Bridge. Bridge again. Bridge. Bridge. Okay, that's starting to look like a chest now. In a sense here. Do the same thing to the other side. Should have mirrored it. Little stressed out because I thought this was all set and ready to go. If somebody manages to count all the errors made in this video, I'll give you guys a reward. Alright, so there's my very basic chest model. I will texture it really fast. Call it chest. Nothing fancy. We're not doing any fancy textures with this. We're just going to add a basic, what should I add to it? Basic wood. Nope, not motion tracking. We want UV editing. Wow, check that out, guys. AAA. AAA. That looks good enough for me, personally. And then I will set the origin. Set the origin there, so that way we can actually open it. Okay, very nice. Delete these out. Make sure it's centered inside there. That, okay, file. Export FBX, we will call this chest. And that will be inside your guys's, let me get rid of this. Don't save. That will be inside your guys's folder, for you. Unfortunately for me, I had to go ahead and make the chest. Okay, chest is made, very nice. Very nice, very nice, very nice, all right. And what we're actually gonna do now is we're gonna animate this chest. So that way when the player walks over to it, it opens and stuff. So what it needs is it needs a box collider. Okay, we're gonna add a box collider and here it is. Let's make it the size of the chest here. Just as close as possible so that way our reach tool has something to grab onto, just like that. That's perfect. And what we're actually going to do is select both the cubes, which I should have renamed them, top and bottom, which I'll do right now. So I'll call this one bottom. I will call this one top. And then we select both and we add a mesh collider so that way we can't walk through it. The box collider we just added to it can stay like that, I believe. Okay. We will go to animation tab, create, and I'm going to call this chest underscore idle. And just select both the top and the bottom and record it. And I'll move it back and forth, rotate it. And so that is now our idle state. I'll create 2 keyframes of it, just like this. And then we create a second animation clip and we call this chest open. I will again add that keyframe we just copied, and then at the 1 second mark, instead of it being closed, we grab the top and then it rotates open like that. So now we have a chest that opens. Let's actually make sure it's the correct way facing the player like that. And I'm gonna place it over here in this corner. And what is going on over here? Okay, that's because the animation's half played. Okay, perfect. So now the 2 animations, idle can stay looped. The chest open will be no loop because we don't want it to keep opening. It just opens once. The chest now can have the script for it, which there's a script called, where is it? Use chest. Bring that into the chest. The hand UI is our crosshair, grab crosshair. And that's going to handle turning it off when we first start the game and coming alive when we look at the box. And the object to activate, you can change this to anything, whether it be the lantern, the gun, or if you want it to be empty, what you do is inside your inventory, create an empty game object and just call this empty. So if we wanted to, this chest, when it opens, it can be empty. and there'll be nothing in it. And then we'll have a little UI element come up, say the chest is empty. Let's actually open that script real quick to see what the animation bool is. So the animation bool we're gonna have to make is open. We're gonna select our chest, animator, create a bool, and say open. From idle, make a transition to chest open. Make sure you add a condition that is called open. And the chest idle does not need exit time. So now, play the game. Walk over to the chest, look at it. We have our grab hand. We look away, it goes away. Look at it again, press your interact button, which should be E if you're following the tutorial. And it opens. And we got nothing because it's an empty. But now why are we getting the grab icon again after that's been turned off? The reason for that is because, for one, this chest should be bigger. For two, again, your script will be changed. I have to change it right now. After we set the animation bool, we want to grab the component of box collider. And we want to say dot enabled equals false. The reason we want to do this is because the whole reason that arm comes up when we can open the chest is because that box collider is a trigger, or the box collider is acting like a trigger. So if we open it, okay, we look away, we look back, now we can no longer use the chest because the script inside the chest is referencing a box collider that's no longer activated. Very nice, very nice. So I will add 1 chest, 2 chests, 3 chests, okay, for tutorial sake right now. So let's bring all the chests right here. So let's say the first chest, it gives you nothing. The second chest, if I go into it, it will give me the lantern. The third chest will give me the gun. Okay. What else I want to do is on, let's say, the empty game object. Let's go UI canvas, and we'll call this the, just call it pickup notification. So pick up notification. And with that, we want to right click, go UI text. And then we can call this, since it's an empty, take a sip of my water really quick. Since it's empty, we can say chest is empty. And the font, I'm going to change the Satan one because it's more of a horror theme. I'm going to make it a red. Change the font size to 30, so that way the player can see it. You can see it right there on the screen. We're gonna align it to the center. And then I'm gonna double click the text and actually just bring it below the hand a little bit. And then add component. I would like to add an outline to it. I'm gonna make it 2 by -2 to make it a little thicker. Black outline with no opacity. And then I like to change it to bold. So when we pick up something that's empty, that's what it's going to do. We can actually make an animation on this chest is empty. We're going to call this the pick up notification underscore text. I will start the recording for the animation, and then in the text object, bring the colors opacity all the way down. At the 0.30 of a second mark, I'll bring the opacity up, copy that keyframe, and I'll have it show for 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. I'll do 2.5 seconds. And then the words disappear back to nothing. So when we pick something up, it's gonna flash it on screen what you got, and then get rid of it. And as you can see, it's looping, so we don't want it to loop, so let's check that off. And now we can pick up notification. We will duplicate it, put it on the gun arms, and instead it's gonna say You found a gun. Pick up notification, duplicate it again, bring it into lantern arms. You found a lantern. So now, play the game. Let's go open some of these chests. The chest is empty. Very nice. We go over to the next one. You found a, oh, it cuts out what I'm saying. Okay, that's fine, we're gonna fix that. But we got the lantern in our hand. And then you found a gun. Very nice. Okay, so to fix that little error there, click all the text objects from all of the notifications. And then we'll do width, do the width 350, do the height by 75. So that way it always shows what we're saying. Okay, we can make this empty disappear, and we can actually put these anywhere that we want to on the game. But for my case, I'm just gonna put them inside this starting area. Reason I'm gonna do that is because, you know, I'm just making the tutorial. I'm not trying to build the whole game right now. You guys should definitely take a little more time to figure out where everything should go. And yeah, with that, if you guys wanted to add more chests around that are empty, just duplicate the empty chest and put it somewhere else. Like, I'll put mine over here. I'll actually do 2 over there. So these 2 are supposed to be empty. Object to activate, it can't be the same empty object, so just duplicate the empty. So this chest here will get this empty one, which is a duplicate, and this one's gonna get this empty one, which is a duplicate of the duplicate. So that way you can be running around finding all these chests, but they're empty until you finally find the chests that actually have either A, a lantern, or B, a gun. Okay, very nice. Optionally, I do have another script in here for picking up the lantern, and it's pretty much the same premise. You put the lantern object down, you make the box collider, and then you add the lantern pickup. It has the object, which it shouldn't actually have the object. This should be a private variable. In your case, it will be. Again, all these mistakes I'm finding right now will be fixed inside of your script, this .game object, so that way you don't have to put in that. It has the hand UI and then the lantern object held in the hand that you would have to plug in. For my case, I'm not going to do that. Actually, you know what? Because I'm doing a tutorial for you guys, I will do it just this one time. Lantern, you put your lantern down. You add a box collider to it, and of course it's not in the right spot per usual. And then you just add the lantern pickup. You add in your hand UI, and then you add the lantern to it. So now, playing the game, you walk over to it, pick it up, you got a lantern. Very easy stuff, guys. Very simple. Let's see what else we can do together. We need to add an enemy player to the screen, to the scene, my mistake. But let's actually create an empty game object, call this chests. And just because I like to keep everything organized, we're gonna put all the chests in there. Actually, I'm gonna call this, not chests, I'm gonna call this usables. So that way the chest can go in there, the lantern can go in there. And now our hierarchy is looking pretty clean. So let's start adding the enemy inside of the scene here. Let's go to models, let's go to zombie, and I have the idle right here. We have a run, we have a walk, and we have a death. Okay, so let's bring in the idle, and I'm gonna place him so if the player starts over here, maybe I want the enemy to say start right here, which is pretty centered in the scene, but we need to make sure that its scale is appropriate for the player. So we don't want him too big, we don't want him too small. Okay, now that he is properly sized, bring him over here. And we will call him enemy. We're gonna add a tag called enemy. Again, making sure to tag him as the enemy. Let's add a texture to him. So we have his face, and then we have his outfit here, which is just covered in blood. Very classy. We need to make him a nav mesh agent. And that will usually scale to the NPC very nicely. What is next? We need to get all these animations out of here, because these are Mixamo animations which are read-only documents. So inside of idle, find the animation, Control D. It's going to duplicate it outside of the actual model. Just rename it to enemy underscore, and then whatever animation it is, that one's the idle. We will do the same thing with walk, duplicate it, change the name to enemy walk. Again with the run, duplicate, change name, and same thing with the death. Once that's done, click on each animation. The ones that should loop, like running, idle, and walk, need to be loop posed. Death can stay unlooped because we just want to see him die one time. And then what we should be able to do is click and drag all these onto the enemy model. Go to your animator tab, click on the enemy first, and find enemy idle, right click, and we want default state. So I'm just gonna make a little layout. Let's get this all nice. Idle, we'll put run here, we'll put walk here. Kind of like this, making it all look pretty. Actually, we'll go like this, perfect. Okay, let's go to our scripts folder, find enemy controller, and let's figure out what these states are. So we have an is walking and is chasing. Of course, case sensitive, keep that in mind. So we will add a bool called is walking and another bool for is chasing. So from the idle state, he can walk, he can run, he can die, okay? From enemy run, he can walk. You know what? Let's do this piece by piece, because this is going to get very confusing very quickly if I do not. So enemy idle, make transition to walk. Is walking, true. Has exit time, no. From enemy walk, he can go back to idle if he so chooses to. And that is if is walking, false. There is no exit time. From idle, he can run. The only reason the enemy runs is when he's chasing. No exit time. And he can go back to idle if he's done chasing. From idle, he can die. And this is if, do I have it set up in here? Where does it state? Oh, because we handled that through animation. Don't worry about that. So that means the enemy not only gets the enemy controller, he also gets death. It's not called death, it's called enemy health. Let's add his health to say 125. Enemy health, let's open that. And the bool is called death. So we will add bool death. Inside the transition from idle to death, he is death, true. If he's running, he can die. Death. None of these have exit time, by the way, so make sure those are off. If he's walking, he can in fact die. Okay. No exit time. There is something we want to change inside his animation states, because I didn't want to do this through coding, just to show different ways of doing stuff. So, in his death state, let's record. He no longer is going to be able to walk, so let's turn off the enemy controller, and let's turn off his nav mesh agent, because he's no longer able to walk, he's dead. So it just plays out the animation of him dying. Very simple. The idle time inside his enemy controller is how long he gets to his destinations and he stays there. So let's do 4 seconds. His chase or his walk speed will do 2.5, and his chase speed can stay as 4. Sight distance. This is how far you want to be from the enemy for him to see you. Let's do the sight distance. Let's do it kind of big. Let's do 30. We have idle sound, walk sound, chase sound. So his idle sound, I just have a few chainsaw sounds because I'm going to put the chainsaws in his hands. That's not where I wanted to go. I wanted to go into sounds. Enemy. Idle sound is the chainsaw idle. Walking sound is also the idle. And the chase sound is use the chainsaw. Okay. So now, in theory, everything is set up for him, except we need to bake the navigation. So we are going to have to select the whole map. Select everything, dirt, walls, and floor. Make sure they're static. We're going to go to Window. Where is it? Where is it? AI, Navigation. Bake it. Just how it is fine. So we'll bake. And now you'll see the blue is where he can walk. And whatever's not blue, he can't walk on. So let's create an empty game object. Bring it into the scene. Let's get out of the navigation. Let's just bring it here. Where are we? Let's bring it. Why is it so far out? Okay, it's inside the scene. Very nice. I'm gonna call this waypoint. Let's go to top view. And we're gonna duplicate that waypoint a few times. So here's one waypoint that he's gonna travel to. Here's another one. Here's another one in here. There. There. Where are they all? So we got 1, 2. Did I duplicate that one? Okay, so this one needs to go somewhere too now. We'll just place it over here. So as you can see, as I go through them all, you can see where the individual waypoints are for him to travel. So you can add as many as you want. He's going to naturally want to go to the closest one. So if I go into enemy, open up his waypoints, and we just click and drag them all in. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now, if everything goes well, I'm not going to max on play. Let's just see if he goes around the scene properly. As you can see, he's just walking around the scene. The walk animation looks a little jank. Why? There's no... Oh, okay, my mistake. We forgot to add an audio source to the enemy. So the sounds had no idea where they were supposed to play from. Okay. We are going to change his walk speed to 3 and his chase to 4.5, just so the animations line up a little bit better. And now you can actually hear that the chainsaw sound's playing. Let's make sure he does go through all of his states properly. He goes to idle when he reaches a waypoint. Very nice. And then he goes back to walking. So let's actually make sure that he is going to chase us. So let's get into the range of him. Something's going on here. What is this? Sorry for the loud-ass chainsaw sound. I see the problem. His from run to idle is chasing true. Let's change that to false. And now he's going to chase us. You're gonna have to change all the values around so that way he doesn't catch up with the players too fast, because he's pretty much the same speed as us right now. But now, if I find the gun, is it going to kill him, or do we have to adjust some stuff? Oh boy, let's just keep running. Oh, you know what we forgot? We're not hitting anything, we're hitting right through him. Because he doesn't have a collider. I'm gonna add a capsule collider to him. And then we're just going to scale the height and make sure everything looks good with that. Get it to a pretty good size for the enemy. That looks good. So now when we shoot him, he should die. Let's go find him. Where's the gun? Is it in this one? Yeah, okay. Except he's still just walking. What's happening here? Of course. We need a... First we need to have a walk. Is chasing, no exit time. And then from run, he can also walk if he so chooses to. Okay, that should fix all the bugs with the enemy. Let's go find him again. What is going on here? He's like dancing. Can we kill him at least? Okay, he does die. Sound effect still plays though, we need to fix that problem. So what's actually going on here? Let's figure this out together, guys. Let's go get spotted by him, and then let's watch what this animator controller is doing. It's jumping back and forth between is walking and is chasing. We're gonna delete the one that goes from running back to walking, because I'm pretty sure the way I've made the script is when you escape the enemy, he just goes back to idle for a few seconds and then goes back walking around. And now he shouldn't be jittering going between different animation states. Am I correct on that? Yes. I wish we could escape him, but I've made him so fast that he just keeps up with us. And I've backed myself into a corner. He's gonna come around, isn't he? Yeah. Okay. That's fine. That's just your guys' choice to change variables with the player speed and his speed. So now we have a working player, working enemy, guns, the chests, and what else? What else do we need in this game, you guys? We have the key pickup, which, again, models. I haven't added the key in here for you guys, but there is a model for the key that I will allow you guys to use. Again, that will be inside your folder that you guys can download. Works the same way as the lantern. You pretty much go into your player and you have an object called key. You can hide it in a chest. In the game that I made, hold on, you found the key. Pretty much in my game what I did is I attached the key to the enemy here, which we actually need to go in the death. Pretty much it was attached to his back. It was invisible until he died, land on the ground, and I would activate the key at the end of the keyframe here. And then the player can pick that up. It's the same way how we did the chest and the lantern. You just add a box collider and then the script to it. Upon his death though, we don't want his capsule collider anymore. And we don't want his audio source. So when he dies, he dies. Okay. Now we need him to be able to kill the player. I'm gonna do this very basically. What I'm gonna do, what am I gonna do? What's going on here? Why is everything deactivated? Okay, never mind. Everything's fine. We're on the right path. We're going to actually copy the capsule collider, paste as new. This one's going to be isTrigger. We're going to change the radius up. So pretty much if the player gets hit by this radius, you die. Simple as that, okay? That's how we're handling death in this very basic horror game. We're going to go to the scripts, and we are going to go to, where is it? Kill player. Add that to the enemy. And what I have here is a scene name. So we need to actually create a new scene for when we're dead, and then we need to make a main menu as well. Then we have a fade out. So what I do for that is on the player, inside his HUD main, create a new UI raw image, make it black, make it big, make it like 2500 by 2500, okay? And with that, it needs an animation on it. We can call this fade to black, Metallica reference for you guys. And we want it to start with no transparency. After, we'll do a point, we'll do 55 of a second. It goes to black, okay? We need to make sure this is called fade to black so we know what it is. And then we will tick it off on the enemy, change the delay to something like 1.2. Fade out is the fade to black, and then it's gonna load a new scene. So what I'll do is I'll actually save this scene. We're gonna go new scene, and this is gonna be our death screen pretty much. So on the main camera, we're going to add a UI canvas. Nothing, we don't really need to rename this at all. We're gonna change the scale to screen 1920 by 1080 again though. Canvas is going to be a UI raw image. We don't need to rename any of this because this is going to be a very basic scene. I'm going to make it black, 2500 by 2500 again. Inside this, we need to make sure this is not a raycastable target. Inside the canvas, we go UI button. And what this button is going to be is the retry button. So let's make the width, let's do 300. Height we'll do 75. That look okay? Looks okay to me. The text I'm gonna change back to the Satan text. Gonna make it should be 30. Should be maybe 40. Yeah, that looks good. And then red text. Add a component of an outline. Again, we'll do 2, -2 to make it a little more pronounced, and no opacity. Oh, forgot to bold it. Very nice. And we'll call this the retry button. And we will call this retry. And then I'll duplicate it, call this the quit button. And inside its text will be called quit. And now we just need to bring it down. So we have 2 buttons, okay. Close those up, that's all set. Inside of your scripts, all these animations are clogging it up because those are supposed to be in the animation. Scripts, now we go to death main, what is this script called? Main menu, because it cannot be found, and that's because it's not named the same in here. Main menu, can I actually do that? I can't do that in a script. So we'll call this menu stuff. Again, your scripts will be fixed, mine won't be. This is now called menu stuff. So now we'll add the menu stuff to the canvas here. What is happening? Something is going on that the script is not reading properly. What is it? Nothing, it should be reading perfectly fine. Oh, okay, so this is the problem right here. We will go onto the enemy health. Actually, I lied. We will go into the kill player. I'm gonna steal this piece of code right here and put that right here. Next screen name, it's gonna go right there. Like this. So that way we can put it into the editor. Again, your scripts will be fixed. Mine won't be. I'm doing it as I go. Okay, canvas. Next scene. It's called the sample scene. So we go to here, type in sample scene. We save this, and we will call this the death scene. And then what I'll do is duplicate death scene, open it up, and call this main menu, because I'm going to use the same thing for both. So instead of the first button saying retry, this is just going to say start. And the start button is actually going to open, again, sample scene, so the script's fine. Go on to the retry button, or in this case, we can rename it to start button. The start button needs a function. So scroll down, on click, bring in the canvas, because that's where we put the script. Function, menu stuff, load scene. And then same thing with the quit button, bring in the canvas, and instead of menu stuff, it is the quit game. And what scene are we on? We're on main menu, so let's go to death screen. And then we gotta do that same exact procedure with both of the buttons. So add the canvas to it. The retry button gets load scene, and quit button gets quit game. Okay, perfect. Now we just need to go file, build settings. We need to add both of our scenes in there. Main menu has to be on top, so that way it knows to load main menu first. And then sample scene right here. So that when we open the game, it goes main menu, and then it goes straight to sample scene, and then, yeah. So that's main menu and death logic. You guys can change it up any which way you want. That is how I am personally doing it, just for tutorial's sake. And then with that, go back to your sample scene, or wherever your main game screen is. And again, let's clean this up, create an empty. Call this waypoints. Don't know why I keep accidentally pressing that slash, but that's fine. Okay, so now we have an enemy that can kill us. We can kill the enemy. We can find the key, which what I'll do is I'll just put it in this chest right here. Inventory key. So that way we can actually get the key object. And then let's say, how do we exit the game? How do you beat it? So what I'm gonna do is, I'm not actually gonna get a door model. I will just do a cube and bring it into the scene like so. So this cube, let's say this is a door or something like that. The script is called the door specifically for that reason, because it's supposed to be a door. We will go into our main HUD, and inside of crosshairs, we're actually going to add a text. So UI text, we'll do it to font size 30. We will go bold, add in the Satan text, that is red text, center it off, add an outline, full black, no transparency, 2 and -2. And then we will bring it up here, and we're going to change it so that the width is 350 by 75. Oh, that's not 75, that is. And we will say you don't, or maybe we'll say the door is locked. And this is, doesn't have key. Alright, we'll just do no key text. Okay, so back to that cube, which we'll just call it the exit point. We'll do the hand UI right there, the grab, the text that we just created, inventory key, which is the one inside the inventory, and then, oh, I did that wrong right here. The fade effects are the fade to black we just created for the death logic. So now, inside the door, where does it bring us? Let's go back here, and we will add this line of code here, so that way we can say where we want the game to bring us. And I'm just gonna have it bring us to the, I think it's called death screen, yeah. I'll just do death screen. You can have it go to a different scene that is like, hey, congratulations, you beat the game. But are we done here? Is that a functional game? Let's save it. And let's go to main menu. Press play. Start. Brings us into the game scene. Nice. Very dark now that I'm looking at it. If we find the key, where's that box? Somewhere in this darkness. Fades out, and we go to this scene, where we can quit or retry. Ah, there's a little glitch, that's right, I forgot about this. Create an empty, and call this cursor stuff. Cursor stuff. Inside of our scripts, because we are jumping from scene to scene, the player script is actually locking the mouse to the center of the screen. What cursor stuff does is we add the cursor control to it, and it pretty much just unlocks our mouse when we are in the menus. So we do that with our death screen, and we do that with our main menu. So again, create an empty game object in both those scenes, call it cursor stuff, and then inside of your scripts, add the cursor controller. So now, everything should work good. Let's go into our main scene here. Where is it? Sample scene. Save. Now we should have a functional game. Although we need to add back the ceiling, and it's very dark. Very dark in here. We're going to go window. Where is it? Lighting. Lighting settings. I'm just going to bring it here for now, and I'll put it right up here next to the navigation tab. So lighting, default skybox is fine. The environmental lighting, I'm gonna change it to a color, and I'm just gonna get it to where the scene is dark, but not too dark that it's unbearably dark, like that, okay? And then we're gonna add some post-processing to it. We are going to go Window, Package Manager. Let this load. This could take a few minutes. Depends how many packages you've downloaded inside of Unity before. I've had this Unity account since, I believe, 2013. So this is 10 years of assets being loaded right now. We're going to go to search and type in the word post. Click it, install it into your scene. And now let's make this scene gritty and feel like a horror game. Whenever it decides to do it. While this is important, guys, if you have gotten this far, please drop me a like, subscribe, share with your friends. And if anybody's interested, we have a Discord to the User One Productions Discord channel. A link to it in the description, so we do have that. All right, let's go create empty, and I'm gonna call this post fx. And this gets the component of post volume? I believe it gets a volume. Or is it the camera that gets volume? I never remember which one gets what. I think the camera gets volume. Is global. New. And then the post FX object gets the layer, right? What just happened? I did that wrong. That's what it is. Okay. So PostFX gets post-processing volume. Create a new profile. Your camera does not get volume. It gets layer. And make sure the layer is everything. Don't do anti-aliasing because the post-processing thing really does mess with anti-aliasing in this game. In this program. So let's open this up a lot. Post effects. Let's add an effect. Let's start with grain. Let's open it. And you could see we're adding grain to our characters. View here. You guys can adjust this as much as you want. That looks good to me. I'm gonna add another effect of bloom. Intensity, I like to change this up high, so like 15 looks good. Unity. Ambient occlusion, this is a good one to add for horror games. We'll do thickness modifier. Intensity. And that's gonna really get dark around the hallways and stuff. Add another effect, we're going to do motion blur. Just turn it all on, don't mess with any of the settings. The default ones are pretty good. Let's do color grading. This one I like to put on because we got saturation, which I'm gonna tune up to not too high where it's pink in some areas. We're gonna do it to like 25. And that's just gonna lighten up the colors of our scene. That one looks good. Color grading is good. We have vignette, which is the darkness around the screen. As you can see there, I like to turn the smoothness up all the way, roundness up all the way, and then change the intensity and just get it around the corners of the player. Now we should have a fully functional horror game. Some bonuses, we can actually go into sounds, and let's go to here. Actually, this isn't the one I like the horror ambience better. We will play on wake and have it loop because it's the sound that's going to play throughout the whole game. Another thing I forgot to do earlier is actually add the footsteps. So the way we do that is depending what material the player is walking on, what you do is, so 3D object cube, and I'm going to make this cube the whole size of the map. It doesn't matter how big it is because it's going to be invisible, but I'm going to just make it the whole size of the map, right? Bring it down a little bit so that way our player can walk on it. Very nice. It is going to be a trigger on the box collider. Turn the mesh renderer off. Layer, add a layer, and call this, I'm gonna call it wood because this is wood. I'm just gonna call this footstep fx. Layer, it is actually reload this. Where is our player script? Just to make sure that I am giving you guys the correct information. Because I don't remember if I did it through layers or if I did it through tags. Okay, yes, I am mistaken. The layer can be default. You need to add a tag, wood. Then tag it as wood. And then as you can see inside your player, it has wood sound effects, which I'm just gonna add in these stepping on tile sounds for now. You guys can add more sounds to it if you want, do whatever you need. But now I'm gonna play the game. We have footsteps, the chainsaw, the horror ambience. We can pick up our light, and it lights the scene very nicely. What I'll do is camera, inventory. I'm gonna add the lantern back to the player. And why I'm doing this is because I want to go back to my lighting settings and make it darker. Not too much darker where it's like this, enough to where it does look kind of spooky. Turn off the lantern. Oh yeah, that looks good. That looks really nice. We have our gun. Should be able to kill him without him getting too close to us. Nice. Oh, something. Oh, I see what we did. The enemy is killing us. And why is the enemy killing us? Is because the collider for him to kill us is still activated. So we need to go to his death animation, record, and turn off capsule collider. So that way we can't die from him once he's dead. But why was he not? Okay, and then we forgot to, next scene for when he kills us is going to be death scene. That's good. We can add the chainsaw to his hands if we wanted to. It's not anything that's important for the tutorial, but just to show you how it's done, I absolutely will do it. All I'm doing is scaling it properly, and then I'm going to put it on his hand like this. Something like that, okay? Enemy. We're going to find his right hand, because that's where his chainsaw is right now. Right hand, put in the chainsaw. And now when we save, let's go to our main menu, play the game, and let's make sure everything's working. So quit, you can't check inside the editor. I promise you that works. Start the game. Nice dark scene here. Grab our lantern. Let's go find him so he can kill us. He's got his chainsaw, nice. So what happened right there? That was weird. Let's go scenes, sample scene, enemy, kill player. Let's change the delay to when it changes the scene. Let's change it to 0.5. Alright, let's do 0.6. Let's try that on for size. Just a lot of playing around with numbers to get everything correct now. So fades out, and we are dead. So if you guys saw my other video on my game made with ChatGPT in less than 24 hours, I actually had an animation for my death screen that would chop off the player's head. I'll show you what ChatGPT made in a second here. But it's pretty much this whole game that I just showed you. Like, we can go main menu, save. So we know the death logic works now. We can pick up a lantern. We can go over to wherever we're supposed to go. The door's locked. We can pick up the key. We can use the key. And the game's over. We can retry. And that is the basics of getting a horror game to work inside of Unity. That's about it. I don't think there's anything else I really want to cover. You can go ahead, you can save, you can build, you can upload to wherever you need to be, whether it be Steam or if it's itch.io. The game is complete at this point. So just under 3 hours, we went from nothing to actually having a full-fledged playable game. As always, my friends, if you did enjoy today's tutorial, please want to drop me a like, subscribe, join our Discord. Everything's linked in the description. If there's any bugs or anything like that that you guys are encountering, please leave it in the comment section, and I will look back at the comments from this video in about 2 weeks and cover all the bugs and have another long video like this where I actually go around and fix them all. If you guys actually want to make your game look good and stuff like that, this is a good template to start. Again, here is my game that I made a video on not too long ago, using the same exact everything that I did in today's tutorial to make this game. So again, you have your lantern, you have your enemy that roams around that will chase you, and this is what I'm talking about. I've made a different death screen, which is just another animation and then some buttons that pop up. But that's how I pretty much did all this. In 24 hours, you could have a game like this, or even better, because again, I had to do a lot of coding, a lot of research on how to get everything ready, made all these models and stuff like that, while you guys, it's just kind of adult Legos where it's plug and play. So with that, in 3 or 4 hours, you guys can get something looking like this, and then add another 20 hours on top of that, you can really get something nice, you know, multiple levels, stuff like that. I have the key right there. So again, that's just activated through the animation of his death, similar to how we turn everything off. That just hits turned on. We have this, which pretty much you die at the very end of the game, and that's the game. The exit button works, as you guys can see. Like I said, everything used in today's tutorial will be in the description on my Google Drive for a free download. I really appreciate everyone coming, watching this video, sticking around. And if there's any bugs, maybe something I missed, something you want me to go more in depth about, please leave it in the comment section. I love making videos for you guys. And that's about it. This is User One Productions signing off for now. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.